everyone, welcome back. We're going to be taking a deep dive into some reports about the situation in Germany.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, we've got 3 reports here. One's about the economic forecast, another one is about the automotive sector, and then we have another one here about the political drama going on.
Oh,
Germany's usually, seen as a pillar of stability, so
yeah.
this is pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Let's dive in.
So this Wirtschaft report has a pretty surprising economic forecast for Germany.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, they're actually projecting a 0.1% decline in GDP for next year.
Wow.
And they're saying that it'll only recover very slowly in the years after that.
A shrinking economy, that's not something you usually associate with Germany.
Right. Like, that's not really what you think of when you think of Germany.
Exactly, yeah. It's a big change from how they've historically done.
So is this because of external factors, or is there something going on internally in Germany?
Well, I mean, part of it is because of the global context. Weak international demand and the whole energy crisis that's been going on.
Right.
That's affecting pretty much every country.
But this Wirtschaft report also mentions things like decarbonization, digitalization, and demographic change as challenging.
Well, yeah.
Are those like internal issues?
Yeah, those are more like long-term issues that are affecting lots of countries.
Okay.
But they are causing specific problems for Germany.
Like what?
Well, they need to transition to a greener economy
Mm-hmm.
and a more digital one.
Okay.
And at the same time, they're dealing with an aging population.
So all of that is putting pressure on them.
Exactly. It's putting pressure on their traditional economic model.
Okay, so it sounds like it's not just temporary. There are some serious changes they need to make.
Yeah, it seems that way.
And speaking of changes, we should talk about the automotive industry.
Okay.
This is where things get kind of interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
This automobile sector report highlights some pretty big problems. Well, it says that the automotive sector is facing a lot of problems right now. Like, we're seeing a decline in both car production and sales.
Really?
Yeah, and actually production is down 13% compared to 2019.
Wow, that's a huge drop, especially for an industry known for high-quality vehicles.
I know.
It's pretty surprising.
It is, and what's even more surprising is that this report projects a 21% drop in electric vehicle sales for next year.
Really?
Globally, EVs are doing really well. So what's going on in Germany?
Well, there are a couple factors.
Okay.
First, the government subsidies for electric vehicles ended suddenly.
Right.
And that obviously made demand go down.
Right, makes sense.
And then the second thing is the economy.
Right.
People are unsure about the economy,
Mm-hmm.
so they're hesitant to spend a lot of money on a car,
Okay.
especially a new car.
Yeah.
And then finally, the transition to electric is expensive.
Yeah, that's true for both manufacturers and consumers.
Exactly. So it's like another layer of complexity.
Yeah, it's like a perfect storm.
Pretty much, yeah.
This report also points to a rise in insolvencies among automotive suppliers.
Oh,
Like, they're saying that 60 major companies could fail in 2024.
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It really shows how much this uncertainty is affecting the entire industry.
Yeah.
These suppliers, if they fail, it could really disrupt things.
Yeah, it would impact not only car manufacturers, but all the related industries too.
Right. It could be a huge domino effect.
So the automotive sector is facing some really serious challenges.
Definitely.
And to make matters worse, Germany is also dealing with some political drama.
Oh, really? What happened?
Well, the coalition government collapsed unexpectedly,
Oh, wow.
which led to Chancellor Scholz dismissing Finance Minister Lindner.
What?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
So this caused the FDP to leave the government.
Oh, wow.
And now they're having snap elections in February 2025.
So a lot has happened in a short time.
It has.
What does all this instability mean for Germany while it's dealing with these economic challenges?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, a new government will have to be formed.
Right.
But there's no guarantee they'll be able to agree on anything or make the tough decisions.
Right.
And it makes Germany's role in international affairs uncertain.
Especially with things like the U.S. presidential election happening soon.
Exactly.
This Politisch Launch report also says that German citizens are really concerned about certain issues.
Like what?
Things like immigration, the economy, social justice, and the environment.
Oh, wow.
So how these issues are handled in the upcoming election will be interesting to see.
Definitely. The election will be a turning point for Germany.
Yeah.
The results will determine how they deal with all these interconnected challenges.
So we've talked about a struggling economy, a crisis in the automotive sector, and political turmoil.
It's a lot.
It is. It sounds like Germany is at a crossroads.
It does, yeah. And we've only just scratched the surface. In the next part of this deep dive, we're going to explore what could happen to Germany in the future. We'll look at the risks and the opportunities that are ahead. We'll talk about the different paths Germany could take and what it means for their place in the world. So stay tuned because there's a lot more to come.
Okay. That's good.
Okay, so let's talk about what could happen to Germany.
Yeah. Like, what are the different paths forward?
Well, one possibility is that things just continue as they are.
You mean like the slow economic growth,
Mm.
the political problems, and the struggle to adapt?
Exactly.
And what would that mean for Germany?
It could mean that living standards go down
Oh,
and that there's more social unrest
okay.
and that Germany's role in the world becomes smaller.
So that's not a very good outlook.
No, not really.
Is there a more positive scenario?
Yeah, definitely.
Like what?
Germany could overcome these challenges and actually come out stronger.
Really? How?
Well, they would need to make some big changes to their economy
Okay.
and really embrace new ideas and technology
Mm-hmm.
and create a society where everyone feels included.
Okay, so it wouldn't be easy, but it's possible.
It's exactly.
And Germany has done this kind of thing before, right?
Yeah, they have a history of being resilient and reinventing themselves.
So what would this transformation look like?
Well, imagine Germany becoming a leader in the green and digital economy.
Okay.
They could use their skills in engineering and manufacturing to create sustainable technologies.
And then become like a global hub for those technologies.
Exactly.
That sounds pretty amazing.
It does, but it would require strong leadership.
Of course.
Someone who has a clear vision and can make difficult decisions.
Right. But it's not just about the leaders, right? The German people would need to support these changes too.
Absolutely.
So how does the upcoming election fit into all of this?
Well, the outcome of the election could really affect which path Germany takes.
In what way?
If they have a stable government that's ready for change, then that would be good for these reforms.
Okay.
But if they continue to have political instability, it'll be much harder to deal with all these problems.
Right. And what about the global situation?
What do you mean?
Like the global economy or relations with the U.S., how could those things affect Germany's future?
Oh, yeah, those are important factors. Like,
Yeah.
if there's a global recession, it'll be harder for Germany to recover economically.
Mm-hmm.
And if relations with the U.S. are bad, it could be harder to work together on things like climate change.
Right.
But those external factors could also create opportunities for cooperation and growth.
So it's like Germany is walking a tightrope, trying to balance all these things.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So what are some specific things they could do
Well, one thing is they could invest more in education and training.
for their workforce?
Yeah, so that people have the skills they need for these new digital and green jobs.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about those structural reforms that the Wirtschaft report mentioned?
Yeah, those are important too.
What kind of reforms?
Well, one area is the tax system.
Okay.
Germany has really high taxes,
Mm.
and that can discourage businesses from investing. So they could simplify things and make it easier to do business in Germany.
Okay.
And that would help the economy grow and make them more competitive.
And what about the automotive sector?
Well, they need to transition to electric vehicles more quickly.
Yeah.
And embrace new technologies like self-driving cars.
But the automobile sector report said that's expensive.
Yeah, it is.
So how can they make it more affordable?
The government could help.
Like how?
They could give tax breaks to people who buy electric vehicles.
Okay.
And they could invest in charging infrastructure so people aren't worried about running out of power.
Right.
It's about creating a whole system that supports electric vehicles.
So not just throwing money at the problem.
Exactly.
We've talked a lot about the economic and industrial side of things, but what about the political situation?
Yeah, that's important too.
Like what could happen there?
Well, populism and nationalism are becoming more popular in many countries.
And Germany's not immune to that.
Right, so it depends on whether the mainstream parties can address people's concerns
Concerns about what?
about globalization and technology and how those things are changing the world
Okay.
and how those changes are affecting people's lives.
So it's about bringing people together and creating a sense of unity.
Exactly.
Okay. And finally, how might Germany's role in Europe and the world change?
Well, Germany has always been a strong supporter of Europe
Right.
and a reliable partner on the world stage.
Mm-hmm.
But now with all these challenges at home and the changing global landscape,
Yeah.
they might need to rethink their priorities.
Okay.
It's about finding the right balance between their own interests and their international responsibilities.
So Germany's trying to figure out its place in the world while also dealing with big changes at home.
Yeah, that's a good summary.
It's a complicated situation.
It is. It's a time of uncertainty, but also a time of opportunity.
The choices they make will be important for everyone. This has been a really interesting discussion about the challenges and possibilities facing Germany.
Yeah, it has.
We've talked about the economy, the political situation, and even the automotive industry.
And we've seen that Germany is trying to find solutions and build a more sustainable future.
So what's the main thing you want our listeners to think about?
I think it's that even when things are difficult, there's always hope.
Okay.
If we're willing to innovate and work together, we can create a better future.
That's a great message.
And it's a reminder that we all have a role to play.
In creating a better future.
Exactly.
Well, this is the end of part 2 of our deep dive into the state of Germany. In part 3, we're going to look at some examples of German companies and initiatives that are doing really innovative and sustainable things. Welcome back to our deep dive on Germany. We spent the last 2 parts looking at all the challenges they're facing, but I want to focus on something a bit more positive in this final part.
Yeah, good idea.
Like, what are some German companies or initiatives that are actually doing some cool things?
Yeah, there are some great examples of innovation and sustainability in Germany despite all the challenges.
Okay, so what comes to mind?
Well, one thing that I find fascinating is these energy cooperatives.
Energy cooperative.
Yeah, they're popping up in rural Germany.
And what are they?
They're basically communities that own and operate their own energy production.
Wow, so they're like off the grid?
Not exactly.
Okay.
They're still connected to the grid, but they're producing a lot of their own renewable energy.
So like solar panels and wind turbines.
Exactly.
How does that work?
Well, people in the community pool their money together and they invest in these renewable energy projects.
Okay.
And then they share the benefits like lower energy bills and even profits from selling excess energy back to the grid.
Oh, wow. So it's like a win-win for them and the environment.
Exactly. It's a really cool model.
Yeah, that is cool. Are there other areas where we're seeing this kind of innovation?
Yeah, definitely. Another area is sustainable manufacturing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. German companies like Siemens and Bosch are really leading the way in this area.
Okay, so what are they doing?
They're developing new technologies to make industrial processes more efficient and less wasteful.
Like what kind of technologies?
Well, one example is 3D printing.
Oh, yeah.
They're using 3D printing to make lighter and more durable parts.
Okay.
And that not only reduces waste, but it also makes transportation more efficient.
Right, because it's lighter.
Exactly. And they're also developing what they call smart factories.
Smart factories.
Yeah.
What are those?
They use sensors and data analytics to track everything in the factory.
Okay.
And that helps them to use energy more efficiently and minimize waste.
So it's like using technology to be more sustainable.
Pretty much.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But sustainability isn't just about the environment, right? It's also about people.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, are there German companies that are focused on ethical labor practices and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
There's a growing movement in Germany towards social entrepreneurship.
It's basically businesses that care about social and environmental impact as much as they care about profit.
Oh, cool. Do you have an example?
Yeah. There's this company called Fairphone.
Fairphone.
Yeah.
I've never heard of them.
They make smartphones using conflict-free minerals and ethical labor practices.
Wow. So they're really trying to do things the right way?
Exactly. They're showing that you can be a successful business and still do good in the world.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's inspiring.
So what can other countries learn from these German examples?
I think the main lesson is that sustainability is not just about rules and regulations.
Okay.
It's about creating a culture of innovation and collaboration and having a long-term vision for a more sustainable future.
Right.
It's about everyone working together, individuals, communities, and businesses.
So it's like a collective effort.
Exactly.
It sounds like Germany's really embracing that idea of think globally, act locally.
Yeah.
And it's working for them. It seems like it. It's a good reminder that real change often starts at the local level.
Yeah. It's not just about big governments and corporations.
Right. It's about individuals making conscious choices and communities coming together to find solutions.
Yeah.
And businesses coming up with new ways to do things that are better for everyone.
This has been a really great deep dive into Germany. We've covered
Yeah.
so much, the challenges they're facing, the opportunities they have, and some really inspiring examples of innovation and sustainability.
Yeah, it's been a great conversation.
It's been fascinating to explore all the different aspects of their situation.
Yeah, and to see how they're trying to build a better future.
So as we wrap up, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that even when things seem really difficult, there's always reason to be hopeful.
I like that.
If we're willing to embrace innovation and work together, we can overcome any challenge and create a future that's both prosperous and sustainable.
That's a great message to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Germany. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into another fascinating topic. But until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep striving for a better future.